Welcome everyone to the Flyte Contributors Meetup. Today is April 27th. I'm really glad to see you all here today, broadcasting live from the Union office in Seattle. So that's cool. All right. Yeah, a couple of reminders. This meeting is being recorded and it will post it to the YouTube channel, Flyte YouTube channel. And by joining this meeting, you apply to abide by the Linux Foundation Code of Conduct. All right. Yeah, I just shared with you the link to the agenda and notes. Feel free to add yourself to the attendees list with your affiliation. That will be helpful to continue conversation, and also add any question or topic you would like to see here discussed to the open mic section. Okay, cool. Anyone joining for the first time? I don't think so. No. Okay, no new members today. Right. Okay, let's get started with reviewing outstanding RFCs, or let's say open RFCs. We will start with new proposals. Typically, this is a place to introduce new proposals. In this case, this one comes from mine. The idea to introduce, let's say, community groups. So yeah, you're invited to read it and give your reviews and opinion. Basically, this is a proposal to introduce communities inside the community, some sorts, or a way to enable collaboration with more structure and well-defined focus, hopefully. And it will expand the current governance structure of the project. We have an amazing steering committee that will also have this leadership role on community groups. So we will have special interest groups and working groups. And in the sixth category, we will have horizontal, what we have called horizontal and domain specific special interest groups. In some ways they're similar, but it depends on how ambitious or project-wide goals they're trying to achieve. Horizontal SIGs are more related to project level strategies, issues. Some examples are there, like security, testing, architecture, etc. Typically, the process to get them started and even to disassemble SIGs is there in the proposal, but they typically have wider goals and kind of a more organized structure. Domain-specific SIGs are where you'll typically find a narrower focus, kind of joining community members together to work on to improve specific subcomponents of the project. I don't know, Flyte Kit, Flyte Console, or to work on integrations. Like every week, we see ideas popping up. Hey, what if we improve this integration? What can be done to extend this feature or functionality of the project? So that will pretty much fall into the domain of a domain in the scope of a domain specific SIG. There are also kind of practitioner fields like, I don't know, SIG biotech or SIG mapping or computer vision or something like that. It could also be a domain specific SIG. And working groups are kind of lighter in terms of how they are organized, because typically they just live at the life cycle is short, and they have a clear goal and a deliverable, and after it's done, the working group is disbanded or finished. And but they typically collaborate with one or multiple SIGs. So all of this could sound like a lot of bureaucracy or unnecessary structure right now. Probably working groups are more similar to what we have seen necessary right now, but I wanted to extend it a bit beyond of what we need right now, to provide the structure there in the relationship between SIGs and working groups. If someone wants to start a SIG, hopefully they will find the information on how to do it right there if this proposal is accepted. And yeah, that's it. I mean, it came as a result of multiple conversations with community members who have ideas, who want to do stuff. And it's a matter of not only starting a Slack channel, something like that, or joining together to write a doc. It needs a clear goal. It needs deliverables. It needs some sort of structure, and the proposal takes inspiration from other projects, like Kubernetes project and some others who are very much on the self-governance side of things, higher level of autonomy, and it's organized in a similar way. It's way more complicated. I try to, remove everything that was not practical right now and leave only what I consider important parts. So that's it. That's the proposal. Yeah, feel free to give it a read, give your comments, ask any question. And
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How is it related to the concept of core contributor and committers?
Yeah, good question. That's also there. I mean, the dependencies with governance, because, for example, for SIGs and working groups, anyone from the community member and above can join. And joining a SIG or joining a working group doesn't make anyone a contributor right away. I mean, the requirements or the criteria to move someone to be a contributor remain the same. That's a parallel thing that I also want to share. The call, it's a PR to make some minor extensions to the contributor ladder we have right now. But of course, SIGs and working groups with more focused collaboration will potentially give community members more ways to contribute and more easily progress on the contributor ladder. I mean, access to the contributor role or even maintainer role. So it's a and it's a relationship there that will even improve the contributor experience, I hope. I don't know if that answers your question.
So you're saying that anyone can join any SIG, but for the contributor ladder, they need to accumulate the contributor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Even someone not being a contributor can be a SIG lead or SIG chair or a working group lead. I mean, you don't need to be a contributor to lead one of these community groups.
Sounds good.
But at the same time, it will give you probably more backbone to provide more contributions and get access to higher positions, let's say, in the project. Thank you. Good question. Anyone else? Right, cool. Great. In review, okay, let's see. The system tags and metadata. I saw a recent comment from Greg on this proposal. Not sure if there's any update or if there's anything else you want to comment around this specific proposal. I'm not sure if it was this one or other. Any update or comment around this proposal?
I think a great idea. We should move forward with it, honestly. My opinion. Maybe we can tag people, like request review again. Because I sense that when we discussed it, I think it was two meetings ago, everybody was like, hey, that's a great idea. And then we just didn't discuss it anymore. But I think, in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense, this feature.
Okay.
I had a question as kind of a Flyte neophyte, if I might ask it, which was like, I get the idea this is about grouping stuff, right? But I'm just wondering about like, there's already sort of an inherent grouping around like the workflows and tasks that I created in, my code, which right now the UI doesn't support much in terms of comparison across those things either. But so that's what I'm sort of trying to wonder, like, is this, when I read his proposal, it doesn't mention anything about that inherent grouping that already exists. It's like, we're going to add this new kind of grouping mechanism, but it's like, well, there's already structure in like, like in the declarations in the code. So I'm just kind of wondering.
I think it's, if I can answer from my perspective.
Yeah.
I think the grouping that I'm interested in from this feature is that I have multiple runs to train a model, and then I discovered a set of parameters that kind of work great, and I want to keep that one. I was like, hey, that one is a good one. And then the same code, I run another experiment, choose another learning rate, and that one is just not good. So I want to discard that one. So it's not really about structure in the code, but rather keep like grouping good experiments for later, for example, or grouping stuff to show to other people in some stand-up or something. So it's not about code structure, I would say, but rather experiment results for me.
And thank you. And the experiment, what you're experimenting with really is the input parameters?
Can also be code. Can also implement a new loss function, for example, in the code. See, hey, the results are better. Let's add that to, like, let's give that a tag so that they'll find it again. It's very similar to what, for example, if you use some ML metadata stores, like you might, I don't know, ML floor 1TB or something like that. Typically, you can assign tags to experiments there. And that's what we currently do. We link from Flyte directly to our experiment tracking server, and then we assign the tags there. But with this feature, we could just do it in Flyte and have these, basically these labels for experiments right there.
Okay, and then again, I'm not arguing with you, I'm just learning. But like when you talked about changing the code, right? Then you get a new version, right? But that's too cumbersome to use as a way to locate something.
So let's say it like this: we register new versions very often. Basically, we make a change in the code, we register a new version. Don't really use them for grouping. So other people might do that differently. I still like imagine I'm trying to make something work that doesn't work. I start a bunch of experiments, and in the afternoon I want to like just group them, give them the same label so that I know that they were from this afternoon where I tried to fix something that didn't work. And I think that can be code changes, even though like I would, for at least the way I use Flyte, I would have probably 50 versions on that afternoon. And I will not remember which one it was because we do the versioning automatically from git commit and feature branch name. So I don't think the version would solve that problem for me, that I'd find it again.
Yeah, and I think you're also saying like really what you're looking at is the execution result. So that's the thing that you want to group, and that's not independent of the version but it's later. Okay, I'm getting it now. Thank you for explaining that to me.
I mean, that's how I would use that feature. Maybe there are other usages of it.
Using labels within like the same, like a long set of executors for the same workflows is one use case, but you can think of using labels across, different workflows also, so to like model like a different kind of experiment. So
yeah, I guess my follow-up question is like, once we have these tags, like, then what? Like, how do you? I mean, I don't know if I read that. I don't know if I read this closely enough, but like, how are you gonna? Are they gonna manifest in the UI, or like what? How are you gonna use them?
that's a good question. Like I think in the some of the conversations that we had for this feature, like we're just really thinking about the programmatic access to the labels. And the discussion about like how we're going to expose this to the UI was sort of delayed. Like I can still see like in the example that Fabio was giving, like where we, for a given workflow, like we could expose like labels as like a top level filter, you know, but
Mhm.
we haven't reached that point yet in the discussion, Tim. But
Okay.
it's a question.
It's a good point, though. I was thinking about the UI right now. I forgot that that's not what was discussed.
I mean,
That's
I
why
think,
we need to discuss this a little more.
I mean, I also think we can, you know, maybe something I can take a look at is like, you know, systems that provide this tagging, how do they represent, like, how do they let people access it? And I mean, I think that's some, just look at patterns, the other patterns that we can see if there's UI patterns that are associated with
I
this.
would look at experiment tracking stores. I would look at Alpha, 1TB, and these tools because they do.
Do
the
you
same
mind
thing.
putting that in the chat, what you're saying? Because I can't, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, so I don't know.
Let me see if I can bring that up. Yeah, okay, I have like I can share my 1TB. It's my private one. It's not the one from my company. So wait, where's the? Can I share screens here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was even just, okay, I was just asking if there was a product that you were mentioning. I didn't, maybe I misunderstood.
It will take 10 seconds. I'll be very brief, okay?
No problem.
Here, so that's my private 1TB tracking server, and you have an overview of runs. So it's very similar in the sense to the Flyte UI that these represent executions. You can click on an execution, and then here I can just add tags here. So I added some tags here. STN stands for Special Transformer Network, but I didn't use a specific loss for it, or I did. These are the labels I can choose. I didn't apply any here. Let's say I do this one here. And then after an afternoon where I trained, I don't know, like 50 different models, I can just filter by the ones where I applied this part of the network. And I do it in 1TB here. I could do it in Flyte. But that's how I would use it, basically as a way to add a tag here in the UI and then say, okay, what did I do in the last 2 hours? Let me take a look again at all the runs where I used, where enabled, for example, this loss function, and then take a look at the curves or some other results.
Got it. Thank you for showing this. This is great.
What does the filtering mechanism look like on that? You know, it's adding tags seems pretty simple.
Yeah, of course. Give me 1 second. I'll share again. So wait, so let's go to runs, and then there's, wait, where's the filter? Filter, add filter, and then there's tags somewhere. Here there's tags, and then I can say is not or in, and then I basically get a subset of the runs. And when I kick off a lot of experiments, that's very convenient because then I can just quickly jump back to just a subset of the experiments. For example, I can now enable. I mean, that's out of scope for what Flyte would do because it doesn't show these plots. But then I can overlay them in the plot here and see immediately. Okay, that's how the loss curve looked like if I enable this loss function. How does it look like when I do something else? It's rather convenient for that.
Thanks.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Fabio. All right. So regarding this proposal,
this is not sorry 1 sec. This is not specific to 1TB. I think all experiment tracking servers have this. It's basically the same for all of them. Sorry.
Great. Thank you, Fabio. Okay, so regarding this proposal, is there any objection to move it to the final comment period? I will give time for further comments and for the missing steering committee approvals. Remember that for a proposal to be accepted, it needs at least, in this case, 3 approval votes from the TSC. This one only has 1. And yeah, any objection against moving it to the FCP?
I have one question here. When we what are the the consequences of moving this to be an accepted proposal. It seemed like, what if we don't find a champion to implement this RFC? So like how we
Yeah, that was something that I also planned to discuss this, because for example, we see here an accepted RFC and one that is close to be accepted, the array node, and etc. And well, right now the RFC process says that the community member who writes the proposal doesn't have to implement it. So there's no clear mechanism to assign a champion. If someone, I mean, probably the next discussion is who wants to collaborate to help on implementing this. Because yeah, that's sometimes in it's usually in open source, that sometimes is the missing part. The idea is great, who's going to make it happen? But yeah, at least at this stage, we need to finalize comments, reviews, objections, etc. So yeah, good question.
I mean, I totally get the separation between like accepting RFC and like
Implement.
turn it into like a real change into the product.
Yeah.
I just want to see an idea just die because we went through the motions here, we accepted it, and like there's
Yeah.
no more movement,
Yeah, accepted is not implemented. So yeah, that's probably we need to refine the RFC process. This is a constant struggle in other OSS projects. But yeah, certainly it's an open avenue, hopefully, for collaboration, for contributions to make them happen. Right. So yeah, we will move this to the final comment period. And in the meantime, we will be exploring how to handle that missing portion of the implementation. Any further comment about this? All right, next up in review, the config override RFC. Is there any
Hi.
update?
Yes. So yeah, me and Ankit and E are talking about this, but currently we put this on hold because we focus more on the Azure AD integration. I'll talk about this afterwards. So yeah, we are still discussing about this. And
Okay.
so we can maybe discuss this next time in the next sync.
And there have been
Great.
some discussions going on also. This one is not
Sorry?
there. There have been some discussions going on this one. I replied
Oh, yeah.
recently because I was tagged.
Yeah.
It's not stale, this one.
Oh, why are we not using? Oh yeah, because you cannot pass the promise. Oh, I think their idea is that, let me see. I don't remember things. You mean why not using with override with constant or with the variable? I don't.
I didn't mean to say we need to discuss it now, but I'm
Oh.
also happy to discuss it in the
Okay.
RSET as you prefer.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit about your question?
So you asked a question. I'm referring to, I think, 2 comments up. Can you scroll there, please? One more.
Okay.
So here you said, my concern with named override method is that users can only override the configs on UI CLI, but cannot override them inside the code. And my question was, when you have access to modifying the code, why do you need like an override hook in the first place? Why can't you just use the existing with overrides if you have access to changing the code?
Oh, because our use case is that we will have a lot of reference workflow managed by ML component team. But for the user side, they need to find some way to to override the config in the reference workflow. So they cannot use with override with reference workflow to override.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll provide more context. I have a doc.
Let's discuss it here. Okay. I'm happy. I like this feature, so I'm happy to like keep the discussion
Okay.
going here.
Sure.
Let's discuss it on the issue.
Thank you. Yeah, any further comment you have, please put it in the PR. So that would be great. Thank you. All right, next up, the external plugin service. I'm not sure if Kevin is here today. No. Is there any update or comment around this proposal?
Besides the fact that we implemented like 90% of it already, you know, so like RFCs are like this iterative process. We're still learning how to handle it. So like, yeah, we should move this one to accept it, especially because like we went through a lot of iterations. Like, how's it gonna look like, you know, or like.
That makes sense to me.
The TLDRs, this is not at the ideation level by any means. Like we already have most of the changes done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to accept it and put the final nail in the coffin after Kevin is here. But yeah, like.
Right. Any objection? Any comment around this?
No, that makes sense. I mean, we saw a demo of it already, right? So.
Yeah, it's already there. So yeah, I'm happy to move things around. Cool. Great. And all right, and then one that was in the FCP was the array node. Let me guess, is it already almost implemented? No.
I'm iterating on it, so it's 60% done.
Okay. Great.
Like in terms of the RFC, I think we're happy with.
Yeah, I don't see any. Yeah, there are some recent comments, but really no objections. Yeah, for the sake of the process, it will be great for TSE steering committee members to give it a review and approval. And yeah, for now we will move it to accepted because it's even in the implementation process. Cool. All right, for any of these RFCs, any of the accepted RFCs, do we need help from the community to implement, to make them happen?
On a registry to organize your.
I think the performance benchmarking one is the only one that was in there that doesn't need any community help.
Okay. Yeah, any specific area that require help from the community? Or we can chat about it more in the contribute channel. I mean, this is a good example of something like a, I don't know, performance SIG, for example, a special interest group around performance. And that will be the group of individuals who own this and help it make it happen. Also a place to mentor new contributors, etc. It's great. But yeah, any help from the community on this proposal would be great. And thank you, Fabio. You look at the doc. Great. All right. Any comment around open RFCs? Yeah. Cool. New ideas in the incubator.
David, sorry, can I talk about the Azure part first because I need to leave in 10 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Need to share screen or something?
You can click the link, adapt authentication flow.
Okay.
Oh, no, contribution.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
So currently we only have the documentation and the support for Okta and Google and key clock. So I have figured out how to set up Azure AD with the Flyte authentication part, and we need to make some change. So I include both the documentation and the important change in this PR. And yeah, it just needs someone to review.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is great. This week was a little too busy, Byron, but I promise I'll talk to you about this change.
Okay.
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 I saw that we're adding email in the IDL. Like, let's discuss. We don't have to discuss it now. I'll ping you in the OSS Slack.
Hey,
Okay.
sorry, who is saying? Who is talking?
Oh, sorry.
Edward.
Eduardo. I'm in the same room as David. That's why I'm not
Mm.
unmuting. But-
Okay, okay, sure.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay, sure. I'll talk to you.
Thanks.
And yeah, thank you, Byron. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll drop off now. Bye.
Goodbye, Byron. Cool. Yeah, there are ideas popping up like every week in the incubator. Feel free to take a look, to comment. Remember that the idea of the incubator is to gauge the interest of the community, to measure if this is something that will
This is
be
a
a
new
fit
one. We
for
could-
an
we could
RFC or
discuss
not.
this one. Developer first secret specification. I think that's a new one. We could discuss that one.
Yeah, this is new from Niels, and it has already some comments. Yeah, it's a kind of constant question in the community, how to mount secrets, how to use existing secrets, etc. So the idea here from Neil seems to be in that direction. So add your comments. Remember that this is also a place for you. If you have an idea and not sure if it's an RFC or don't have the bandwidth right now to write a proposal, you can put it here, and hopefully eventually we can even make it an issue and start the process from here, right? Great.
That's a great idea.
Cool. All right. Okay, next up in the open mic, unless you have anything else, there's also a PR here. Kind of adding the process to nominate contributors and updating a bit the privileges of each one of the roles. Like, for example, only maintainers are able to create branches. For contributors, it's forks mainly. And also specifying better the privileges of the steering committee. And yeah, simple process, hopefully a simple process to nominate, but simple but transparent process to nominate someone to be a contributor, and how to accept someone as a new contributor and also as a new maintainer. That would be great. And kind of some notes on the life cycle of maintainers. I know maintainer burden is real, so there are some notes there to how to step down if you need, unless you're getting paid to be a maintainer and you cannot step down, but that's a different thing. All right, that's great. Awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Thanks for doing this, David.
No,
Someone asked that question about if the forks are ready to run in CI or not. Like, is it like whoever, was it Fabio or Onyx,
Onyx.
right, who asked about that?
Mhm.
I would love to understand more, like, what is the concern?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, they should, for the most part, run.
Yes.
Because we rely on like GitHub Actions. We don't have, like, we've been good citizens, which means we don't really expose secrets or anything. Like, I'm wondering, like, if that's not the direction that this question was kind of asking, and I was hoping that Onyx would attend this, but No, so maybe Fabio. I
It
don't need
wasn't-
to talk to you. Sorry,
It
yeah,
wasn't
like,
my question. I tried to give an answer. I wasn't 100% sure it wasn't my question.
Yeah, I think we can
Cool, we engage there.
we can talk to him in the channel. He's in the channel, so to kind of elaborate better, or here in the PR itself. Mm-hmm.
In the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak to my part. So for all the branches or for all the forks that I have had branches on, everything ran as expected. And I think I've forked pretty much every repository.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrifying and good. So
Yeah, probably it's because the experience I've had the problem with other repos that if you contribute from a fork, there are some
like CI doesn't.
it doesn't run because some security stuff. So
I mean, the maintainers still have to approve CI to run in our case, but like it is as far as like the interaction goes.
mhm,
We see the PR, say, yeah, this seems reasonable, let's run CI.
mhm. Got it. Yeah, let's keep chatting with him in DPR. Okay. Cool. Any other discussion topic, question, comment?
I have one technical question, but I'm not sure if this meeting is the right format. It's a detail about a PR that I'm working on. It's almost done. I have one question, but I can also do this offline. I'm not sure if this is this type of question is what we would discuss here.
Well, I think it's a good forum for this. I mean, for contributions and kind of technical questions around PR that you were into.
then-
If it's too big, like we can take this offline, but like it's open mic, like let's see if we can scope it to a thing that we can discuss here.
Okay, then let me share my screen quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm working on integrating Torch Elastic, which basically means that in the PyTorch job manifest, there needs to be like one new section called Elastic config. And we need to create a new task type, which I call PyTorch Elastic task. And that starts basically multiple processes. And you can, so with the existing PyTorch plugin, every worker in the distributed process group runs in one pod. And with PyTorch Elastic, you can have multiple processes in one pod that form one worker group. And there's an agent managing these processes, and that can also restart these processes. It's basically the newer version of how PyTorch runs Elastic distributed training. And I can also show that quickly so that you understand what I mean. So this is the task.py in the PyTorch plugin, and there is a new implementation of this task. And all this multi-processing stuff happens in the execute method that comes basically from PyTorch. And we need to, the question that I have is concerned with separating exceptions that happen in the user scope from in system scope, so that we know against which retry budget we need to count. And I copied, going to resolve this not so that you can see the code. I copied from the Python function task this logic here in the doc string of the Python function task. It says that you need to implement this if you inherit, so that dynamic is handled correctly. And my question is, do we need to handle dynamic here? Because I don't think we need to, but I'm not 100% sure. Does the question make sense, or should I give more context? We can't hear you, Eduardo.
There you go. There you go.
Cool. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Cool. So I had a discussion with Gaten about this, and the TLDR is that you won't need to worry about the distinction between dynamic and regular tasks. So we're making a change to Flyte so that these kinds of new Python functions will not have to worry about their distinction.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it'll be separate from your PR, I'm assuming. Yeah.
So then it means we keep the PR open a bit, and we remove basically this execute method completely and remove the underscore from this one here. And then it will be handled kind of like in another place.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you need to like, you need to understand how underscore execute is called, but that we can take offline, like the question that you were asking about, like the execute override, like you won't need to do this.
Okay. Okay, sounds good to me. We can take it offline to organize for how we will merge this, whether we wait for the other PR, or whether we refactor it at some later point. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Fabio. All right. Any other question, comment?
I have one thing just on the like fetching of Pydantic workflows. I have a draft up. I'm just like not sure where to put the entry point in Flyte remote. Like whether we want it to be, you know, a separate fetch command for fetch Pydantic workflow or something there. And that can be something that we also discuss online. It's more of like from a UX, what would we want this to look like in Flyte remote?
I think it would need to be in a plugin, right? Because not everybody wants to use Pydantic.
Yeah, so it could go in a plugin, or it could just be another function on remote. Like you could do fetch workflow or like fetch Pydantic workflow. Like it's just, we need to decide if we want like fetch workflows default to almost like fetch a Pydantic like object that handles validation, or whether that would be like a flag that you specify that would kind of change the output. For now, I think we would want to probably have it as like a separate entry point for any sort of user experience rollout, and kind of gauge how the community likes it or uses it if they do.
But the thing is, like my concern is if we make it a new entry point of remote, that would bring something that should be a plugin into something that's a core feature, right? Like not everybody wants to use Pydantic, so I don't think it should be in remote.
Yeah.
Think it. I mean, the problem is that I don't think there's a plugin mechanism for remote, right? But you could
That's
maybe
true,
inherit
but-
from remote.
No, but like the Flyte like plugging mechanism would extend reasonably well to remote. It's just that we don't have any plugins that applies on for remote yet.
Could you just inherit from remote and create a Pydantic remote, and then add another method there?
Yeah, and we could have like the fetch workflow and fetch task just return, rather than like the workflow object that Flyte produces. It could produce Pydantic workflow and Pydantic task objects that handle the validation. I think I like that. Would that be okay with everyone? I could definitely like modify the MR so that it would be a plugin. And I think that makes more sense. And then we could always like iterate on that, see if we like that Flyte remote UX, and if people want to use it, they can. It would be a, you know, purely opt-in behavior.
Yeah, it's my fault, Greg.
What? No one's fault. What are you talking about?
No, it gets my vote. This idea.
Oh, get your vote. I thought you said it's my fault. I'm like, what are you talking about? No one's at
No,
fault
no,
here.
no.
Yeah,
not
but
your
no,
fault.
I think I like that too. So yeah, I'll just inherit and override the methods that I need while maintaining the same API for things that I don't need to override.
Yeah, to me that sounds good.
Cool.
Same here. Curious to read the PR because that sounds interesting.
Yeah. I've really liked using it, and folks at Freenome have really liked using it. So yeah, excited. I'll try and make the plugin, and like right now it's just a draft MR. So I'll make the plugin a real MR, because I think that sounds like a better path forward.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else I would like to share, comment here? No. Okay, cool. As usual, thank you all for your time. That was great, and hope to see you in the next one.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Good evening.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.